Hello, world. Good morning, and welcome back to the Founders and Innovators Morning Show. I'm your host, Joia, and today I'm really delighted to be here with another fellow New Yorker, Vishal, who is the founder of this exciting new company, Munchtime. And Vishal, I know you have a really interesting story of how you even started on your journey as an entrepreneur.
For
And
sure.
it's a classic New York kind of story. I absolutely love it. So why don't you share a little bit with our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to meet everybody. Thank you so much for having me on the show. So when I first started out, honestly, it was just an experience that I thought was really life changing and positive in a way that I wanted other people to partake in and have the opportunity to really experience.
Hmm. So tell us what happened.
Yeah. So basically, I was at the museum after having a trip in Colombia. And I went on a solo trip just to kind of do my sort of version of eat, pray, love, right?
Hmm.
And I think everybody in this city kind of does that and needs that. When I went to Colombia, I had a really wonderful experience because I was able to meet different friends and almost kind of forget that I was a New Yorker, right? When I came back, I instantly felt this level of darkness or this energy that kind of brought me to a place where I wasn't really feeling like I was myself, not that level of freedom. The funny thing is that when I was in Colombia, I was just like, I'm in a completely different country in a completely different environment. So why was it that I felt more comfortable there than I do in New York? And I've been here for 10 years, you know?
Hmm.
So I asked myself this question of, how long do you want to stay a stranger in your own city? And I decided that I was going to do something about it. So I went to the Metropolitan Museum, which is one of my favorite places in the world. And I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to go out and I'm going to do what I love. I'm going to learn about art.
Hmm.
And I went to the South Asian exhibition, and honestly, it was a very quiet room. There wasn't that many people there. But when I turned around, I saw this other lady in the room with me, and I turned to her and I said, "Wow, isn't this a popular exhibition?" And she turned around and she kind of looked at me like, "Who is this weird guy that's like talking to me?" But
Hmm.
then, as the awkwardness kind of subsided, she found out she was just like, "Oh, he's not so bad after all, I guess." And I thought, obviously, I was just like, I'm just here to pass the time. I figured the thing is that when I was in Colombia, I had such a great experience being able to go out and meet people. Why
Hmm.
not actually try to make the effort to do that here in New York?
Hmm.
And the way that I describe it is that we ended up actually traveling the world together. And by that, I mean, we went through all of the different exhibitions in the galleries, and we saw ancient Greece and ancient Egypt and all of these different places. We just talked along the way and we made jokes and we laughed. And it was just a natural flow of two people having a conversation. And I learned so much about her and her background. She was a German dancer that came to New York to go take courses at Broadway Dance Center. And she was an aspiring dancer to be on Broadway, and she was really excited to be in New York and had many different travel experiences working in the Amazon and living in Brazil with an extended family. So all of these things were so mind sort of opening for me because I never really met somebody like that before. And we talked for hours until the museum closed. And then after that, we were just like, okay, what do we do? I checked my phone, she checked her phone. Neither of our friends were texting either of us. And
Hmm.
we both had plans for that evening, but we still had some time together. We decided, hey, do you want to go get coffee and have some dessert just to kind of end the night? And we walked only a few blocks away to this diner. And it was this perfect New York diner with this woman basically greeted us with like this thick New York accent. And she's just like, what do you guys want? Like, where are you going to sit? Everything.
Hmm.
And we just kind of sat there and we talked for a few more hours and had dessert. And it was a wonderful experience that I just kind of had to sit in a moment and realize I was like, am I actually alive right now? Like, is this a movie? Is this something that can really happen in this city anymore? You see it always in like the Hollywood films and stuff, and you're just kind of like, wow, like this is kind of why a lot of people move to this city, right? And I was so fortunate to be able to actually have that experience, and it was not even something that I asked for or like knew about. So when I went through that, and I just had this sense of oneness with the world, and just kind of being able to live in that moment, right? I was like, why can't we do this all the time? You know,
Mm-hmm.
why is this just a moment? Why is this just a movie? Why can't this be something where everybody has that opportunity? Because what I feel is like, once you know that something exists in the world, you can't unknow it. And if
Mm-hmm.
I know that this magic exists in the world, then I know that it's also there for other people, and it has to be. So I created this product because I wanted to help make that easier. I know
Mm-hmm.
that obviously being in New York, it's very tough. I've been here for 10 years. I know that firsthand. But if we can make products that actually help people live their lives and experience magic every once in a while, then I think that that's a worthwhile effort.
That sounds beautiful. So tell us more about Munchtime. What exactly is it, and what is it going to help people do?
Yeah, no, it's pretty simple. Munchtime is a platform that brings strangers together over food and then rewards them with discounts. So very much similar to the experience that I actually had. It's just a way for us to facilitate people to talk over food that have similar interests, and then basically give them rewards and discounts that they can either use for themselves with other friends, or use to continue the experience with the individual that they're meeting. So we want to create more of a cyclical economic model where people are able to not only just have experiences and benefit from those intrinsically through the emotional gratification, but also get a monetary reward to be able to help grow local businesses around them as well and
Mm-hmm.
explore.
So tell us how you see like other entrepreneurs will even be able to use this app, probably even to help further their businesses in ways. It
Oh,
sounds like.
100%. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that even on my own entrepreneurial journey, I don't come from a very entrepreneurial background. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so for me, it's very difficult to be able to find people to connect with in the industry and to know just what's going on, because either there's a lot of information or there's not a lot of actionable information. Now, with this kind of a product, if you had a specific question, or if you had some sort of an interest that you wanted to pursue, then you could very easily tap into the network and say, hey, does anybody want to have lunch with me, to talk about entrepreneurship, or to talk about my SaaS-based business product, or whatever it is. And then you can find people to chat with that may have marketing experience, sales experience, that are just interested in helping you out. One of the benefits of being an entrepreneur is that everybody really does want you to be there on the stage and to make it. I don't think I've experienced any sort of meetup or a group where people haven't been very supportive and open and helping each other. So if that already exists, then why not just put it on a platform where everybody can benefit from that kind of positivity?
Oh, that even just sounds like a beautiful vision for bringing entrepreneurs together. But it sounds like the app is even for more than just entrepreneurs too. So can you maybe share your vision of Munchtime? Like, what do you want this platform and community to be in 5 years or 10 years?
For sure, for sure. I mean, 5 and 10 years, I think, is a very sort of an interesting. I hope that it has a very positive economic impact in the future, as far as building like a sort of a baseline economic model in cities across the country and globe, where people are able to contribute to local businesses and understand that their dollars are going in the hands of other people that are their friends. As far as what the use cases look like, a lot of people that I've spoken to as far as market validation say that they have their own personal ideas of how they would use it, which is always beautiful to hear. When I
Mhm.
speak to people that are outside of my own demographic as a millennial, Gen Zers definitely want to be able to use this as a way to sort of grow their influencer clout, or be able to meet up with photographers or other sort of creatives that are going to help them advance their career and interests. Millennials at this point, business professionals want to be able to leverage this for power lunches and for more meaningful interactions where they can sell themselves and kind of build their own personal brand, or represent their own companies at those tables, and then sell to others. And then as far as elderly individuals that I've spoken to, they love the idea because, by sheer virtue of their age and experience, they may not have as many friends. And they want to be able to go out and have a fulfilling life. But a lot of the technologies that are there today for social media really don't allow them to connect in ways outside of just connecting with their family, or just kind of being relegated to a part of society where they don't have as much active participation. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of different use cases for how you could do it, but the premise of it is that you're just there to share a meal with somebody, you know. And if at the end of the day you just want to go to a restaurant and you're just like, hey, this table is booked, but hey, if I can get more people to join me, then I can kind of get there. Or if somebody's already going to a really popular place and you want to join them and you can go and try it, that's just kind of like a baseline of how you could interact with the app as well.
So I'm curious because the story you described, that it had that quality of magic to it, and I think, as human beings we've all experienced something like that, something where we know we can connect with people and
Mhm.
have a connection that's magical. But I think we also know that it also happens that we meet with people and it's maybe lots of things that you wouldn't ever describe as magic. So I'm curious your thoughts on even just what it is about human connection that leads to the magical quality, and maybe what people can even do if they're using their app to kind of maximize the magic, you might say, to have more of the magical kinds of experiences and fewer of the not so fun connections.
100%. And that's a very fair question. I mean, obviously, we want everybody to have a very positive experience off the app. But the reality of the situation is that there are some unsavory personalities out there, and certain people just don't see eye to eye on things, right? Um, it's a tough question to sort of describe, but there's a lot of social psychology that has gone behind the development of the app and the way that
Mhm.
people interact to reinforce positive qualities and characteristics of human nature, rather than exacerbating certain elements and traits where we want to gravitate towards what it is that we know. Um, Most people in general, if you meet them in real life, won't be so unsavory. It's just by sheer virtue of our exposure to different digital platforms and our stigmas against those platforms that have grown over time that have caused a lot of social issues like social anxiety, stranger danger, and other sorts of practical means of self-protection emotionally, right? And I think that if you understand the industry that I'm trying to operate in, which is kind of social networking, you realize that a lot of the issues that we face today as far as this negative perception of human social interaction is because these platforms want us to not have very pro-social behavior. If you're spending more time in real life, you're not giving money to Facebook by scrolling through their newsfeed and seeing ads. So they have their own psychological principles, which they've co-opted to build their tools in very addictive ways. And what we're trying to do is say that, hey, that is one way that you can use this knowledge and information, but then there's another way that you can use this knowledge and information to actually help bring people together as well. And when you do that, you actually do see that people will behave in ways that are much more positive or reinforcing positive norms and ethics rather than the opposite, which is what you get away with on social media.
Can you tell us even more about some of the social psychology you said that's gone into the development of the app? Like, is that even part of how you would get a connection with someone, or how does that even work in terms
Yeah,
of how the app
100%.
works?
Yeah. I mean, every element of the design of the application itself, because when we think about psychology, we usually think of like, this person in a chair and they're kind of asking you questions. But that's not necessarily the case. You have to look at it from a design aesthetic perspective and how people are going to intuitively understand how things operate on their own. And when we are relegating social interactions in ways that are advancing a monetizable agenda versus an agenda that's going to help bring people together and have a positive social experience, then that's when you see a kind of breakdown in the ways that these psychologies have been co-opted. So a good example of this is in terms of the way that you would interact with other people, like with likes, comments, and shares, right? You don't necessarily think about it because you don't really have any other alternative when you're on Facebook or any of these social media platforms. But the uniformity of this metric is to be able to gauge exactly how you're interacting in a way where they're configuring how you're able to interact. So if you don't have the opportunity to interact in a way that's natural to you, but you're able to understand and follow the rules, most people are just going to fall into line. The reason why Munchtime is different is because we want you to make educated decisions on who it is that you're meeting and how you're meeting them. But the way that you interact with them offline is not anything that we have any control over. So that kind of leaves opportunity for you to be who it is that you want to be. And most of the time, people are going to be very authentic to themselves. They don't have any other option because, again, those guardrails aren't there, right? We're not allowing you to just sit there and be like, oh, I like this. I'm going to comment on this. I'm going to take a photo of my food. I'm going to do this. We're not regulating your experience. So you're able to really share what it is that you want and kind of use that time to your benefit. We just have to make you educated enough to make those decisions on your behalf in ways that allow you to get the maximum utility out of what it is that you signed up for.
That sounds really fascinating. Unfortunately, we're already almost out of time, but
No
can you
worries.
tell people more about, where you're at currently with Munchtime, and if people are curious to find out more, how they can learn more?
Absolutely. Thank you so much again. So again, Munchtime is a social network that allows people to come together over food, and we reward you with discounts to different experiences across your city. We're currently in a wireframe stage, so we have the product and the layout and the design already squared away, but we're looking for a technical co-founder to be able to bring the product to the next level. And if there's also any other angel investors or people that are out there that are interested in the Internet of Things or blockchain, those are two underlying technologies that are going to power the app that I definitely like to learn more about and talk to you about. And if you'd like to contact me, sorry, if
Yeah.
you'd like to contact me, you can contact me at Atri, VATRI at munchtime.co.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Vishal, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. This was a pleasure.
And thank you, everybody. Have a great morning.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe, review, and share this show. If you'd like exclusive content and behind-the-scenes insight, for just $4 a month, you can support us at buymeacoffee.com. Now, go make it a great day.